if it isn't Kaedehara.
Huh? You two know each other?
Yes, the Kaedehara and Amenoma clans were both members of the Raiden Gokaden. After I returned to Inazuma, I visited Mr. Amenoma to pay my respects. Yes, you may recall the story of the Raiden Gokaden from the era.
Though all bladesmiths trace their craft back to the same source, over time, each of us has arrived at a different blade-making philosophy. As an example, the Amenoma art strives to emulate the There is nothing mystical to our work. There is only practice, day in and day out, until both body and mind. As for the art of the Kaedehara clan, I believe it's called...
That's right. Ishin art strives for complete harmony between blade and mind. For only a blade thus forged can capture and convey its maker's thoughts and feelings, and eventually become an extension of its wielder's will.
Indeed. Most samurai choose their blades, but an Ishin blade chooses its own. You are, without a doubt, the most worthy wielder of an Ishin blade. It gladdens my heart to see that although the Kaedehara clan has fallen on hard times...
You overestimate me. My actions are guided by my own personal sentiments. But let's get back on topic. The purpose of our visit today is to gather some information on your missing nephew. It may turn out that this case is connected to another we are pursuing.
Ah, yes. My nephew. I reported the case to the Tenryo committee. He didn't say a word before he left, which is very unlike him. But I've done what I can so far. Worrying is futile.
We heard that there was a collector involved in the disappearance too. Know anything about that?
Yes. On the morning that Yuya went missing, he gave me a very cryptic look and said that he was going to give me a great gift. I believe he went to collect the item from Mr. Nagato after that. The next thing I heard was that a fire had broken out at the warehouse, and neither of them came back.
Brand.
Yes. Strange, isn't it? I wonder what could have caused it. Unfortunately, there was very little evidence left behind, so nobody knows what really happened.
Do you have any thoughts on what Yuya may have wanted to give?
If I had to guess, it must have been some kind of rare weapon. He's never been particularly interested in blade forging, but has always had a fondness for blade testing. He is extraordinarily talented in martial arts, particularly when it comes to the art of the sword.
Truth be told, we have some information that you may find to be objectionable. The person we are looking for, he attacked this friend of mine. Based on the evidence we have gathered so far, only Yuya seems to match the suspect's profile.
What? No. Absolutely impossible. Yuya is not that kind of person. He is humble and kind. Even his training is done with the goal of calming his mind. He has never gotten into a fight before.
Is that so?
Yes. If there's one thing I can say for certain, but with that said, it's equally out of character for him to just disappear with neither farewell. I also cannot know what course of action he might be capable of if coerced. Anyway, should you find him, please let me know as soon as possible.
Don't worry. You have our word.
From the sound of that, Paimon doesn't think Yuya was the one who attacked us as well.
Yes. It sounds as if something happened when the two men... Let's pay a visit.
Interessant. Gab einen Brand also. Dann irgendwas verbrannt. Dann die Schwert. Die Story ist hier... Oh, ich muss hoch. Interessant, was da bis jetzt ist. Aber wir haben immer noch keine Hinweise, wer das genau ist, der uns angegriffen hat. Okay. Gehen wir mal zu dem Haus. Sehr interessant bis jetzt. das Haus. Oh, Alter, wie lange will ich da laufen? Da vorne ist das Haus. Bestimmt. Ja, genau, mit dem muss man reden. Hallo.
I'm very sorry, but we cannot afford to pay what we owe right now. My husband has gone missing, and I'm still trying to...
No, you misunderstand us. We are here to help with the investigation.
Ah, I see. I'm sorry you have to see me in this dreadful state. Has some new information come out? Do you know...
I'm afraid we don't have any new information at the moment. With this in mind, can we perhaps ask some questions?
For example, Paimon struck...
That's a long story. Ever since I've known him, he'd always get so animated when he was showing them to me. I knew nothing about the items myself, but seeing how enthusiastic and excited they made him, I was happy to believe that they were just extremely everything was fine when we first got married. But as time went by, things changed for the worse.
Uh-oh, what happened?
He lost his sense of restraint. He started buying more and more things. Our expenses really spiraled out of control when he started getting interested in weapons. It was awful. There were days when he'd spend hours down at the warehouse, admiring. He wouldn't sell them, wouldn't even touch them. Just sat there staring. I'm happy he has a hobby, and I'm willing to support him. But making ends meet has to come first. I've tried to... On the last day that I saw him, I gave him an ultimatum. I said, if he refused to sell his collectibles and pay...
Whoa!
Oh nee, das war nicht schön.
That led to an argument.
Actually, it didn't. Generally, he's a quiet man who likes to go with... You must understand, I never would have dreamed of threatening him with divorce if the debts hadn't pushed our... After I said those words, he froze and was silent for a long time. When he finally spoke, he awkwardly mumbled that he would pick out a few items to sell. His voice was so meek and pitiful that I felt an urge to take everything back. But then what? If I didn't draw the line, what would happen to our family? Had I not indulged his bad habits, we wouldn't have found ourselves in such a predicament. And I also don't know if he had actually come to his senses, or if he was The next thing I heard was that our warehouse had caught fire, and both he and the...
I see. Ame no Mayuya came to purchase a weapon from Mr. Nagato. During the sale...
At first, I assumed they must have gotten... But my husband has never been one to negotiate. He never even haggles when he's out buying groceries, so it's hard to imagine him getting into a fierce argument.
Maybe he was feeling the pressure from the debts?
I don't know. He just disappeared after the warehouse burned down. Perhaps he's too afraid to come home now that all his collectibles have been lost in the fire, and he's got no way to pay off our debts. Even though I'm still a little mad at him, we're a family, and I want us to face our family's crisis together. As long as he's willing to turn over a new leaf, I know we can work things out.
Please don't get upset. There could be more to the... If collecting things is a habit that Mr. Nagato had his whole life, it is quite unusual for this habit, but the information we gathered from the other side suggests Ame no Mayuya is also... This...
A little confusing.
Let's try a change of scenery, and see if... Rest assured, we'll notify you if we find anything.
Thank you so much.
Boah, ganz schön hardcore, ja. Scheidung, dann noch Kinder, Alter.
Based on the information we've gathered so far, I can only surmise that the sales meeting between the two men was somehow the catalyst for their disappearance. The fire at the warehouse likely played a part in how the situation unfolded, though its exact role is a mystery. Do you have any thoughts?
Well, Paimon was thinking that maybe someone accidentally knocked over an oil lamp and... Nope, never mind. Paimon's brain needs to rest for a while. Over to you.
Es kann wohl nur so eine Auseinandersetzung beim Handel der Panzer dazu dienen, die Wahrheit zu verbergen. Es fehlen noch notwendige Informationen. Puh. Gute Frage.
That is the most likely conclusion based on everything we know. What started as a disagreement over the price, however, in this case, only one of the parties would have started the fire. That would make the other party innocent. And they would, if this is indeed what happened, and the innocent man hasn't come forward. One fact that I keep coming back to is that Amenoma Yuya is polite and well-mannered, while Mr. Nagato is introverted and passive. Neither seems like the type of person who is inclined towards initiating conflict. Mr. Nagato, being heavily in debt, is also the only one of them with the potential motive to disappear after the fire. The more I ponder it, the more puzzling it becomes. Just what could have happened there? Right. Although the time frame seems to broadly match, no other details that we've learned seem to link the two events together. Amenoma Yuya lacks a key distinguishing feature of the attacker, namely that he is principally a practitioner of the blade testing techniques of Amenoma art, not those of the...
Darn! We thought we could get two birds with one stone here, but at this rate, it's starting to look like...
Let's keep going, since we've come this far. If we can solve the case, both Mr. Amenoma and Mrs. Nagato will be able to get some closure.
Okay.
Let's head out of the city and check out the warehouse. There's still a chance we may be...
Interessant.
Wait. I hear something ominous in the wind.
Oh! This must be another one of those sounds that only you can hear. As sketchy as that whole thing seems, you did put it to good use when we were chasing down that vision thief at Beto's tournament.
Now I'm picking up a strong scent in addition to the sound.
But there's nothing here.
It's gone now, but I can still... It felt very much like that ancient presence in Inazuma. The Indeed. But this unexpected spring of inauspicious energy may prove to be of benefit to our... We should remain vigilant and approach...
Okay.
Huh. So it's an underground...
The force is definitely coming from... The source of the Tatarigami energy has long since left this place. But the residue it left behind... Judging from the concentration, I would have to conclude that the Tatarigami...
Mrs. Nagato said her husband used to hang around the warehouse by himself a lot.
It could well be that he was already on... From what I've been told... But most will develop a stubborn streak upon being exposed. Mr. Nagato had an interest in collecting to begin with.
So what should we do now? Go down and take a look?
Step back. I'll open the door and take... If we don't open this door, we can move no closer to the truth. You needn't worry. Both of us have faced far greater dangers.
What's down there?
Everything's buried in debris. I can't see anything. It looks like the fire caused a cave-in, reducing the entire warehouse to rubble.
Das ist ja schön.
That was too scary. Paimon was so sure that the warehouse boogeyman was about to jump out at us.
All we can do now is keep searching in the direction that the Tatarigami energy source left this place. Two ordinary humans, entangled with the Tatarigami. I fear... Yes, let's go. If nothing else, quiet your mind and focus.
Okay. Sollen wir jetzt verstecken, oder? Folge den Geruch. Da lang.
From this point, the trail appears to split into two. The main source of the Tatarigami energy continued on into the distance. Quite possibly. Let's search the area.
Puh. Das. Villagers.
Something seems to be drawn there. Let's take a closer look. The looks of it, a letter written on a piece of torn clothing. The ink is bone dry. It must have been written quite some time ago. Well, let's take a look.
Aha. Okay.
According to this letter, a conflict arose because Amenoma Yuya wanted to seize a blade belonging to Mr. Nagato. Yuya started the fire that destroyed the warehouse and wounded Mr. Nagato in the fight. Mr. Nagato kept chase as long as he could, eventually stopping here to write this letter when his strength gave out.
So, where is he?
He was not only mortally wounded, but also under the heavy influence of Tatarigami. Add to that the fact that its aura seems to have attracted a horde of monsters, and I'm afraid he may no longer be with us. Whatever traces there may have been of his fate beyond after this point, they've since been Yes. Right now, if Amenoma Yuya is attacking other people indiscriminately, then the longer we take...
So let's get moving!
I wouldn't be surprised if he, too, fell prey for a practitioner. All the clues that at first seemed disparate, and I have a hypothesis that...
Wait, you figured it out? So these two cases are connected after all?
I believe so. But it's something of an outlandish idea. I will only be able to confirm my suspicions once we've met him in person. On with the search. We must stay vigilant. At any point now, we may find ourselves in danger.
Interessant. Was ist Wasser? Ah, ich muss da hinfliegen. Nein. Ah. Oh, gerade noch so geschafft.
He seems to have stayed here.
Why here? Is there...
I'm not sure. But on closer examination, I sense that the Show yourself!
Da ist er ja.
Kaedehara Kazuha. It's you, at last.
Aha! So it is the... What's your problem, huh? What could you possibly have against Kazuha?
Indeed, there should be no enmity between us. But what if instead of facing Amenoma Yuya, we are in fact facing the blade in his hand?
Now that you mention it, it is giving... Whoa, whoa! Surely you don't...
Tatarigami energy often lodges itself within physical objects. The blade has resided in Mr. Nagato's warehouse for many years. Or rather, as a means to occupy Amenoma Yuya's body.
You're sharper than I thought. You've already deduced that many years ago, I was forged by a famed bladesmith of the Ishin tradition. I was as a descendant of the Kaedehara clan. You should be able to guess our greatest regret.
I presume it has something to do with the Raiden Gokaden.
Indeed. At that point in time, he failed to live up to the Raiden Shogun's He was a bladesmith of great renown, a master of his craft. There was nothing that he could not accomplish. All he needed was more, and sure enough, in the end, he achieved what he had set out to do. All of his life's work, his wisdom, his skill. He not only bestowed upon me the greatest of strength, but also endowed me with a conscious. In her conceit, the Raiden Shogun lost not only the single most perfect blade in the entire world, but also...
So, swords can become conscious?
The people of the time in which I was born never believed I had that kind of power. They saw me as a mere crafty one, but in all other respects an ordinary weapon. But that gave me the opportunity to take action. After the death of my creator, I decided to leave Snezhnaya and began my long quest to return to the distant land of Inazuma. Moving, I seek one thing: to face the full force of the Raiden Shogun's blade and prove my power.
So Amenoma Yuya was not your first victim. Tell me, what happens to those you've possessed?
My hosts? Who cares what happens to them? They are... When they got tired, or injured, or unusable, I hopped to the next one in line. All I needed them to do was to take me back.
You're awful!
After I returned to Inazuma, I decided to bide my time in Nagato's warehouse. At long last, I'm approaching my journey's destination. By Amenoma Yuya's body, Kaedehara Kazuha, you
Nee, nicht Raiden Shogun töten.
Shogun's Muso no Hitotachi. There can be no other. Now, give your body.
Ein verfluchtes Schwert. Ja, das wird nicht. Das kann er sich abschminken.
Or I will strike you down too.
Your bluff's fooling no one.
Lost. I can never lose. It is this body. Even if you defeat me here, the one who falls will not be me, but this. He is but a puppet that can be replaced. I can take a new... The end result is the same. I will end this wretch's life before you can lift a finger. And even if I were to lose my physical form, it is but a small... By any means necessary, and any medium available,
Your fighting style. It is... But from your movements, I sense only hatred and arrogance, as well...
Really? You can tell us?
As I've mentioned before, the forms of Ishin art convey the user's thoughts and feelings. Since the blade is currently possessing Amenoma Yuya's body, its movements express the innermost thoughts. If you ask me, the mania is probably due to a desperate self-ambition. You believe...
Are you trying to claim that I am helpless without you? On his deathbed, he passed to me all of Ishin art's secrets. The little that you know barely scratch. In that regard, why would I ever need your...
Because all of that is in the... I've been wondering why you've not caused more trouble in all the years that you've been in Inazuma. If you are indeed a cursed blade that can possess its owner. Now that I've seen inside your mind, everything finally makes sense. You weren't biding your time. You were trapped. After all the time that's passed, you have grown weak. To the point that you are now unable to acquire a new host without making physical contact.
Oh, that's right. Paimon remembers now. Mr. Nagato had a habit of never touching his collectibles.
Only when Mr. Nagato witnessed his wife's distress and decided to sell his collectibles did you finally have an opportunity to reach out to Amenoma Yuya and make your escape.
And what of it?
Well, that brings me to my second point. There's a despair in you that is so strong it threatens to overwhelm you. You were determined to fulfill your maker's ambition, whatever the cost. But this ambition is too... I think you realized your limitations long ago. The more you clenched your teeth and pressed forward, the greater your fear of losing everything you had achieved grew. But the way I see it, what began as an ambition has...
What would you know about any of this? I'm just one step away from achieving
You returned to Inazuma to prove the unparalleled brilliance of Ishin art.
Boah, ist das warm,
But to
ey.
make this, even if you were to sever that divine light, is this truly the out... Sure, you inherited the secrets of Ishin art. But even as you made your journey, how could you possibly unleash the full potential of Ishin art when you act in perfect discordance with the principle of harmony between a blade and its...
silence. I must achieve my goal. This, I will concede that you are most perceptive. You see my predicament clearly.
And you should face...
Easy for you to say. Facing reality offers me nothing. I have no need of anything that would stand in my way. Not hesitation. It is pointless to argue further. Descendant of the Kaedehara clan. If you...
How stubbornly you stick to your wayward path. I do not believe for a second that you can challenge the almighty Shogun in your current state.
What? Surely you're not planning to agree to his demands.
Very well. Then find yourself some enemies. Once we have dealt with them, we shall proceed.
And as for your end of the bargain, if you lose...
I accept.
Don't do this, Kazuha!
This is the only way to save Amenoma Yuya. If we don't do, the Cursed Blade's strength is currently very weak, and I sense his hesitation. This suggests his heart is still not completely devoid of honor. The power of the Tatarigami lies in intensifying existing obsessions. This is the reason, Mr. Even if things take a turn for the worse, I still have you both here. We have a chance here to save an innocent victim. I am willing to accept the risks entailed.
Your disdain for me betrays your woeful ignorance. I agreed to this bet because there are things I wish to learn too, now.
Oh.
Kazuha?
I'm okay. I felt a little dizzy at first, but only it's all right. So far, this was as I expected. I will.
What should we do next? Have you got a plan, Kazuha?
We find some enemies. Although this blade has endured much turmoil, it probably hasn't experienced. If a blade built for Ishin art cannot enter a state of harmony between blade and bearer, it can. If he wants to avoid reality, then we need to fight until he has no choice but to face it. He shouldn't last long.
Wait a minute! Paimon remembers hearing about something from the adventurers. Since the Takasukasa clan abandoned that secret base, it's been held by Ronin ever since.
All right.
What about Amenoma?
The blade says he'll let Amenoma Yuya trail us silently.
Are we sure this is a good idea? It's a good
Oh, jetzt haben wir das. Jetzt hat Kazuha das Schwert. Ich muss da hoch. Oh, Waffe. Basisangriff 110. Angriff 100. Berühmtes Schwert der Ishi-Schule. Es hilft beim Treffen von Gegnern mit Standardwaffen, Schlägen oder Angriff aus dem Fall einen bösen Geist, der Flächenschaden in Höhe von 101 Angriff verursacht. EP in Höhe von 100% der Angriffe daher, 8 Sekunden Abwehrzeit. Aha. Das Spezialfähigkeit. Cool. Krass.
Leave everything on this journey to me.
Was ist denn da eigentlich gebaut? Crit-Schaden? Okay. Pyro-Schaden? Warum macht der Pyro-Schaden? Okay.
The blade is performing largely as I expected. Having gone so long without proper use and maintenance, it's become very difficult to use. Though he's making every effort to persevere, I do not think he can last much longer.
Something else on your mind?
How strange. Rather than trying to control me, he is instead trying to match me. Let's keep going.
Oh, eine Truhe.
Let's get down to business. Into the wind. The wind's losing. Let's get down to business. One with wind and cloud. Into the wind.
Whoa! Something's up with the blade!
I can sense that his strength is slowly fading away. He cannot hold out much longer.
What would that do to Amanome Yuya?
I will be careful with it. He also says he does not have any plans to give up easily. He's still
Das Schwert haut mich jetzt nicht um, muss ich ehrlich sagen. Feuer!
time to go. One with nature. Clouds high. The birds call. Wind strike.
Das haut mich jetzt nicht um. Ui.
You okay? It looked like you were really...
Yes. And it looked...
The sheen's grown a bit dimmer again. It doesn't look anywhere near...
Perhaps this time we'll finally have a chance to see his true...
True form? What are you talking about? Is this the same blade as before? It looks like a piece of junk!
If you choose to continue in the state you're in, you wouldn't even be able to beat Samurai and Kairagi. But maybe you did truly wield power to rival the Shogun's light when first. It barely needs stating anymore. Your ambition is a flight of fancy. I've finally figured out why it was that you agreed to my bet. You wanted to reach a state of harmony with me. For perhaps then you would still be able to, but regrettably we are nothing alike. I will never understand your obstinacy and cruelty. The only one who truly understood you.
Huh? What's that supposed to mean?
Here they are! Take them down!
Where do they keep coming from? Yup, we can help.
Don't worry. It's just more.
Er benutzt sein eigenes Schwert? Filetierter Messer. Fügt eine einzelne Gegenwart einen Treffer mit der Wahrscheinlichkeit für größeren Schaden erhöht zu. Cool.
True Kaedehara. No one knew anything of my story throughout my trap. I thought that if I could achieve Ishi...
But in this too, you have failed.
Indeed. No matter how hard I tried, I could not attain that... Too much time has passed. Yours is the blade that took on the moose.
Actually, this is just a generic... Forging and maintenance are both important for a blade, but they are not everything. This blade has traveled the long way for many years. Skill. Blade. There is something else I must tell you. Tatarigami is a malevolent. Though you tried to cooperate, I resisted its temptations because I wanted to save. I feel a great sense of regret for you. The moment you embarked on this journey, you have known this for a long time.
He gave me everything. How could I possibly... I said to him, do not worry.
I believe our bet is now settled. I have nothing...
Where are you going, Kazuha?
He now has neither the ability nor the motivation to cause further harm. When I touched the hilt for the first time, it's as if I was transported to a strange dimension. A bladesmith lay quietly on the bed. His frail face barely visible under a newly forged blade lay by his side, listening attentively to his final...
Wow. That was the blade's memory, wasn't it?
Indeed. While in exile in Snezhnaya, the bladesmith eventually learned that he spent the rest of his life in the forge. Not to vent his frustration and hatred. He felt intense regret at being tricked by the Fatui, so he instructed this sentient blade to find a way back to Inazuma, no matter how long or how hard the journey. All he wanted to show was that they once shone brilliantly as blade.
So but after that, the blacksmith's intentions were
Right. I believe the bladesmith might never have known that the power he worked with... This blade has committed unforgivable atrocities. Yes. Time would not wait or stop because of his determination. While the world moved on, he seems to have calmed down, though.
When I look back at the past, I once told him that I would pay any price to... But darkness and slaughter numb the mind. Over time, I lost sight. Not only did I fail to fulfill his ambition...
You are finally seeing reality.
Since we agreed to the terms of the bet, I will honor the agreement. But I still cannot bring myself to forsake his ambition. It is so. May I ask you to help me fulfill the ambition?
Hey! Now you're adding yours into the mix!
It has to be done in this order. At least hear what I have to say. And if you don't agree, I will still release my physical form as well as the knowledge I possess.
His attitude has grown a lot milder. What do you think, Kazuha?
Let's hear it.
Thank you all. When I was first forged, my maker was already terminally ill. He told me, alas, after that, nor have I ever had the chance. My fights were devoid of any noble meaning. They were merely the next step in my never-ending journey. You are a fine warrior. I would like to request your help.
Oh?
I will release Amenoma Yuya and restore his consciousness. Perhaps you must have plenty of reasons to both hate me and...
Understood. Then let's start by waking him up and seeing if he has this.
I see. He used my body to inflict harm on others. I utterly despise him and his actions. But since he stayed true to your agreement by releasing, if a duel can help to set this state of I do not wish to be a mere victim.
There's no need to worry.
Thanks for your help.
All right, then let's move on. More Ronin could appear at any moment. We can't stay here. In any case, for a final duel, I think we should aim.
Ein letztes Duell. Interessant. Da.
This reminds Paimon a bit of the Crux Club. Yep, we still can't let our guard down. Even now, Paimon has a sneaking still. Even if he's way past the point of redemption, it's hard not to feel it. Are you ready?
Ready? Okay. Successor of Ishin art.
Successor of Amenoma art.
Honored to cross blades with you.
It is my honor also.
Ui. Ich dachte, die machen nicht mehr Schaden. Das hat auch mal für Standard so gemacht.
Thank you, although he appears battered and broken. In your hands, it seems he's regained his sense of savage cruelty has completely
You also fought well. I'm sure he relished the experience. There are a few things that I shall leave him.
I must apologize to you for all that has transpired.
You need not seek my forgiveness. Nor do I have the right to forgive you on your victim's behalf. It is too late for all of that.
I do not wish for forgiveness. I only hope that you will see my transgressions as mine alone, and not let them stain the leg. I strayed far from the straight and narrow path, but the Ishin art still I beseech you. Please.
Yes, I too trust Mr. Kaedehara.
Thank you, successor of...
This blade has also told me that he has another wish. He would like to visit the Amenoma Smith. Maybe we can go back there to get...
What does he want to go...
I'm not sure, but I think that all this...
Interessant.
I am sorry to have troubled you. It's all thanks to them that I was...
A prized Ishin blade. Turned weapon that controls the Considering their forging philosophy, this was indeed within the but I have some good news as well. Ryuji from the Bonton Sango detective agent...
Really? Is he okay?
Yes. Badly wounded, but... And now that Hyuya is back, it seems like the final ending to this...
I think I know what you want to do.
What's wrong, Kazuha? Is the blade whispering in your ear again?
Yes. He said he wants to take
What? No way! Hasn't it learned its...
He tells me that he's thought of another way to fulfill his maker's wish. and he assures me that he won't use my body for anything nefarious. I have decided to let him do it.
There's nothing
Thank you. I will explain my reasons later. Okay, I am ready. Let us...
My power is almost spent. Without him, my eventual demise is inevitable. But if I abandon the future to give everything I have in this moment, my physical form can be forged anew.
Everything? You mean...
Yes. The cost is my entire consciousness. You were right. There's nothing that I can accomplish now. But there's still a chance for Ishin art. Once remade, I will be a valuable resource for your studies. Ishin lives on, and its finest hour is yet to come. Even if I am not the one to prove its might to the Shogun, as long as it is an Ishin blade, crafted by Kaedehara hands, it will still fulfill his final wish. Thank you, son of the Kaedehara clan. Over the years, my real name has been forgotten by all. I'm ashamed to utter it, yet it remains strong in my mind. Kagotsurube Ishin. This name
Ui.
is now yours.
Rest in peace.
Geil. Sieht ja geil aus.
So, that's why he said his consciousness will disappear forever after fulfilling.
Kagotsurube Ishin. It seems like deep down he disapproved of his own actions. And only in the final moments, before his consciousness faded, was he willing to
Seems like he really wanted to fulfill his maker's wish.
the same fervent ambition that gave him the motivation to keep going forward. Also, speaking for myself, I'd rather see him recognize and atone for his mistakes than see him punished for. I understand. Perhaps this is a flaw in my personality. I've always been captivated by grand aspirations. Hearing his wish to rival the divine light touched something inside of me. Just as the sight of those who fought to repeal the Vision Hunt decree did, your quest to face the gods and trace your sibling inspires me in the same way. After everything I've seen, I will continue to support you from this point on. Know that you will have my assistance whenever you need it.
Wait, shouldn't we also go update?
Oh, you're right. And it's also time to...
You've returned. I hear that the issue has been resolved. Though this was a treacherous investigation indeed, the Tenryou Commission has already attended to the danger at the warehouse. The investigation into Amanoma Yuya should conclude soon. I do not believe he will be charged with any crime.
Wow, you sure kept your...
Then we needn't recount all the details again. Now, as to your earlier offer, I wish to give you my answer.
What's this?
Kagotsurube Ishin. A weapon crafted using a long-lost blade forging art of the Kaedehara. By means of a series of fortuitous events, I was able to recover and restore him. And so, it looks like I will likely continue with my journey across...
I see.
The Kaedehara clan has always been a family of bladesmiths, so it is only proper for me to continue on this path. Were I to accept your goodwill, I may find myself embroiled in conflicts between the shogunate and Sangonomiya.
You misunderstand. That was most certainly not our intent.
I am aware, but I still desire to continue walking my own path.
Very well, I can understand. Then let's pretend this offer was never raised. However, if you should ever change your mind or find yourself in need of the Shogun's assistance, please do not hesitate to inform me.
Great.
Where will you travel to next, Kazuha?
I'll probably take to the seas with Captain Beto. As for my next destination, let's see where the wind takes me.
Für nach so Meero. Und dann das war so erste Akt 1. Oh, cool. Oh, ich habe das Schwert bekommen.